Alright, let's hope we are live for the launch of the first Cygnus NG-17 spacecraft into orbit. Let's hope. There it is. The launch. Alright, everybody, my name's Lee Davis, and today we're going to be reacting to the launch of the first Cygnus spacecraft to space. I hope you guys are excited for as much as I am. So let me load it up on YouTube, everybody, because we're reacting to the Cygnus launch courtesy of our friends at NASASpaceflight. So let me go to the channel, to my description here. And here we are. Give us one moment and we should be able to see the launch coverage for this spacecraft. We'll get to the... So this is the start here, everybody. Let's get ready to watch, everybody. A 42-minute stream of the launch of Cygnus to the ISS. A very important mission. The day before the launch of John Glenn to orbit, and don't worry, I will have an SR2 stream out for the launch of John Glenn. I will be reacting to both of the 3 videos for John Glenn's historic flight tomorrow. So, after this stream is over, everybody, I'll be getting that John Glenn stream. I'll be getting that John Glenn stream ready for launch. Real quick, everybody, have to check what time did John Glenn launch? Just so I can get it right on the dot for the, just so I know. $14.47. $14. 7:47 a.m. Okay, so we launched 7:47 a.m. Eastern time. So we'll be getting up and getting the stream ready. And I'll get the stream done after the stream's over, everybody. I'll be getting the John Glenn stream ready at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so we can get ready for the launch of John Glenn into orbit. There'll be 3 videos. Part 1 we'll do all 3 parts of the live stream. It'll be an epic live stream about John Glenn's flight into space. It'll be absolutely amazing for the 50th anniversary. So, how many years ago was 1962? So we'll go on to datetime.io so that we can get this February 20th. 60 years. So it's been 60 years of American orbital spaceflight. So tomorrow will mark 60 years of American orbital spaceflight. It'll be absolutely incredible. So that will be an amazing launch coverage to go over. So in 3, 2, 1, boom.
Yikes. You bet. Okay. We don't need any more of these.
So this launch coverage is for the Mighty Wild Flight Facility in Virginia.
Everyone. Welcome to another NASA space.
So what I'll be doing is I'll be moving my mic here so that you guys can hear NASA spaceflight. You can hear Thomas Burkhardt from Diamond Alliance. The person that you heard from the LV0006 launch is doing this live stream for the for the Cygnus NG-17 spacecraft to space. So I'll be right back. Please stay on the air, and I'll see you guys in a bit for the launch for the T-minus 1 minute mark for the launch of the Cygnus spacecraft. See you all then. Bye-bye.
Flight stream. It is launch day in Wallops, Virginia. We have an Antares rocket on the pad with Cygnus. Before we get into intros, just a reminder, get your questions in chat at NASA Spaceflight. We will answer as many as possible. I am Stephen Marr. I'm one of the photographers here for NASA Spaceflight based out of the Space Coast, which gives me an opportunity to be on stream today because this is launching from Wallops, Virginia. Joining me today, we have our assistant managing editor, Chris Gebhardt. How you doing, Chris?
I am doing just fine. How are you, Stephen?
Oh, I'm pretty good. And up there, traveling up to Wallops for us, we have Thomas Burkhardt. How you doing in that wind out there, Thomas?
Oh, this isn't the Florida weather we're used to. It's a little cold and a little windy, but nevertheless, a beautiful day for launch. The skies are crystal clear, hoping for a beautiful ascent for Antares and Cygnus NG-17 today.
Yeah, I like the way this is framed up. Looks like I know that's probably not actually wheat, but it looks like wheat just blowing in the breeze there. What are the what's the wind speed out there right now?
It has been varying throughout the day. It is actually kind of right near the limits of launch weather criteria, which is actually the main risk item they cited in their pre-launch weather forecast of the surface level winds getting too high. However, the winds have been reported green throughout the countdown so far and are expected to remain just within the limits to allow an on-time liftoff today. So, hoping that the winds continue to cooperate. We've been fighting the tripod all morning to try and get this camera as stable as we can. Hopefully it's pretty all right now, but yeah, so hopefully the winds behave, and so far they have.
Yeah, and thanks everyone in chat for sticking around. While we dealt with technical issues, mainly just that tripod and the wind. That's basically what we've been dealing with.
We don't want to get anyone seasick on the stream here, so we tried to make it a little better.
Right, yeah, but I like the way it has it's turned out with the framing. I really like having all that blowing in the breeze there. It's really cool.
It's a nice aesthetic for Wallops, right? You've got the mountains of Vandenberg, the water of Florida, the wheat of Wallops.
Yeah. Well, we are approaching T minus 20 minutes or L minus 20 minutes. Actually, there's a good question right there. Why are we displaying L minus instead of T minus?
Ah, yes. So launch minus is the actual time remaining until the liftoff is scheduled. In this regard, L minus, sometimes the T minus clock does not match the L minus clock because there are built-in holds in the countdown. So what we opt to do a lot of the times is to use the L minus clock. That way everyone knows exactly how far away from the anticipated liftoff we are. So L minus 20 minutes to go for the Antares rocket here today. So that is the difference between L minus, and T minus is literally the time that is left on the clock. So if there are built-in holds, that's why it might not matter. But yes, and on board is the SS Piers Sellers Cygnus, continuing Northrop Grumman's long-standing tradition of naming the Cygnus spacecraft after people who were instrumental to the field of space exploration, and this continuing a trend to name Cygnus spacecraft as well after astronauts who have passed away. And Piers Sellers, not just a veteran of 3 space shuttle missions, but also a very staunch environmentalist and environmental activist as well, and sadly, a very good person, very sadly lost to cancer. So Northrop Grumman doing him that honor of giving him a spacecraft named after him.
Yeah, and that's sort of a thing that Northrop Grumman has been doing with all of the Cygnus spacecraft, right?
Indeed, every Cygnus spacecraft does indeed get a name. Some have been astronauts, some have been others who are just instrumental, both within Northrop Grumman and outside of Northrop Grumman, in propelling space exploration forward in some regard.
Well, cool.
Indeed.
We're I feel like, because we started a little later, so we have a little less time to talk about everything, but I wanted to talk about the payloads, and one in particular that our buddy Doss pointed out to us is the Moon Gallery, this art project that's going up that has all of these little cubbies, and these are like tiny cubbies, but there's art in each one. There's 64. It's a 64 space grid with these centimeter cube spaces in them, and they have these tiny little pieces of art by 64 different artists. Yeah. What did you think about that? We just saw that for the first time this morning before we went on stream, right?
Yeah, I mean, so some of these are pretty interesting. The official release talks about so the Moon Gallery test flight, specifically with nanoracks up to the International Space Station. It's 64 physical artifacts and one engraved piece of artwork for 64 total. Basically, projects that are being featured to reach the final frontier of human habitat and mark the historical meeting point of humanity with the cosmos. So, like, one of them, in particular, we were discussing before we came on air, is a potential like tattoo, an artwork of a tattoo to like remind future astronauts of where humanity first evolved and everything. So there are cool little things like that. There are weird things in it too, but it's kind of cool. But it is kind of cool, and it just sort of demonstrates the the different ways that payload space can be used. And there are a lot of other scientific payloads that we're going to get to here in a second
Right.
too. But this artwork is kind of unique, and you don't always see those types of payloads featured. So I know we wanted to draw a little bit of attention to that here.
Yeah. What other kind of payloads, notable payloads, do we have on board?
Yes, indeed. So on board the NG-17 Cygnus resupply vehicle, there is a skin protecting experiment on board that's specifically looking at the deterioration of skin cells as a normal part of aging that occurs over decades, and using microgravity to sort of study those changes, because some of those changes accelerate at microgravity, so we can more quickly and easily study potential skin aging alleviation elements, that's not the right word, treatments, there we go, to both help and assist with, how brittle skin becomes as we age here on the ground, but also to protect future astronauts and other explorers in lower gravity environments. We also have some hydrogen sensor demonstrations that are on board. Space as Lib, specifically from the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, so one of the international partners on the space station, has a new lithium-ion battery technology that they are going to test that is on board. There is you have to say it this way, plants in space experiment.
Can we add some reverb to that?
Exactly. So this is an experiment looking at soil growth mediums in microgravity to facilitate better crop yields here on Earth with changing environments and climates, as well as future uses for long-duration space exploration when you have to grow your own food.
I love anytime they're talking about growing food in space. I love it because it points to the future of humanity living and working in space, and I love that.
Right, and exactly. And there's also a fire safety experiment on board. Fire safety, of course, is very instrumental and crucial in space exploration. The Apollo 1 fire definitely highlights the incredible risk that we have to mitigate when fires break out in spacecraft, and we have done a very good job over the years of bringing that to fruition, but continuing to study and improve that fire safety is a very critical experiment that will be ongoing aboard the ISS as well, that is launching on board this mission. And as well, there is also a cancer treatment experiment that is on board. It is called the MicroQuinn 3D tumor experiment, and it's specifically using breast and prostate cancer cells to examine cell proteins that can be specifically targeted by drugs. And this is important, and this is a moment to stop and say, just because they use a specific type of cancer cell does not mean that that is the only type of cancer the experiment helps. Because there are certain things like T cells, receptor cells, messenger RNA inside of cancer cells that are more prevalent, right? So you can use things like a breast cancer cell or a prostate cancer cell as stand-ins for other types of cancer cells, in this case also including leukemia cells. And I wanted to also point out an experiment ongoing on board the International Space Station that is specifically using messenger RNA as a potential, looking at that as a cancer immunotherapy. Basically, and that's basically a big scientific scary phrase for saying there are portions of our genetic code that we can create medicines that go and create messenger RNA that go and look for specific types of genes that we know are associated with cancers. So this messenger-based RNA drug system can end up targeting a cancer cell, but right next to it, leaving the good cell alone.
Nice.
And this has incredible, I mean, and very specifically, it is a treatment for leukemia. And that sort of brings me to something that I wanted to highlight. So if you are watching this in chat, in our pinned chat, if you so desire, we wanted to bring your attention to the Team Boyertown Legacy group of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. They are currently raising money for leukemia and lymphoma research here on Earth, but also applicable experiments on the International Space Station. If you would like to help them, please click on that link that is pinned in chat. But that is the link to check. That is the way to help them. You must click that link. So if you are so inclined to help Team Boyertown Legacy and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, please follow that link. So
Cool.
thank you. So thank you in advance to everyone who does choose to assist. But we wanted to bring your attention to that, also very specifically because there were related experiments on this particular vehicle and on the International Space Station. So that
And
is
that's
an
just one
overview of
go
the
ahead.
experiments that are on board. Yes.
Very, very cool.
Yeah,
What,
I just-
Thomas?
I just wanted to reiterate because people always ask, there's a common argument is, how does spaceflight help us here on Earth? And the International Space Station is just such a great example of that. For example, medical research. Using microgravity as this extra factor that can help you research things in a different way is super, super cool. And always love talking about that when there's ISS missions like this.
Yep, absolutely. I think as we are, we're approaching about T-minus 11 minutes or so. Let's try to hit some of these questions before we get too close to liftoff.
Yes, indeed.
Let's start with our traditional first question coming from Musical Wolves. What are those 5 towers? Now they're saying 5.
Oh.
Let's go with 5.
Okay, all right. Now I got questions because there's a rocket that you can count as the tower. There's a water tower. So I don't know which 5 he's actually talking about. We're gonna start with the 4 that are the standard ones. Those are lightning protection towers. They're also light towers, I think. But those are the lightning protection system. Pad 0A at Wallops Flight Facility does have our good old-fashioned lightning protection system. There's also a water tower, and of course, there's also a rocket.
All right. Thank you, Musical Wolves, and everyone. I mean, there's there's always a bunch of copies of that question. Thank you very much. Carson Reed was wondering, will the Canadian arm grab the payload? Are they going to be using the Canada arm for this?
Yes, indeed. That is a great question. Yes, so Cygnus does not dock to the International Space Station like the Cargo and Crew Dragon vehicles from SpaceX, the other current U.S. cargo provider. So it approaches the International Space Station. It gets about 10 meters underneath the complex, and then Canadarm2 reaches out to a grapple fixture point on Cygnus, grabs hold of it, and then berths it to the Earth-facing port of the Unity module's common berthing mechanism. So that is how Cygnus is attached, and then the process is just reversed when Cygnus is released at the end of its mission.
Very cool.
Oh, but there's something cool on this mission that we really need to talk about that Cygnus is going to do. That's
Okay.
planned.
Oh yeah. Can I talk about this one?
Yes, go for it. Go for it. Yes.
Okay, so the International Space Station at its altitude, which is a little over 400 kilometers, does over time lose a little bit of altitude because there's still a little bit of atmospheric drag at that altitude. Obviously, it takes many, many orbits for you to even notice the difference, but it does happen. So every once in a while, the station performs what is called a reboost maneuver, which actually uses a docked vehicle, up until now a Russian Progress vehicle almost always, to just give a little bit extra velocity and boost that orbit back up to the altitude that they need it at. You'll often see this right before crew launches and things like that, because they also want to make sure they have the exact right orbits for crew dockings and things like that. However, tested last year on a different Cygnus mission, they actually used the engine on the Cygnus spacecraft to conduct a very brief reboost maneuver, not a full maneuver, to actually raise altitude. It lasted less than a minute and raised the orbit by like 200 feet or something, so barely anything. However, this Cygnus will conduct a real reboost maneuver, a full duration, actual operational orbit raising maneuver, and that allows them to reduce the demands on the Russian vehicles so they can have different propellant margins on their end and not always need to be preserving all of their propellant for the reboost operations, because the Cygnus spacecraft, the American Cygnus spacecraft, can conduct some of those operations now as well. And this is the first spacecraft that will be doing that operationally.
Yes, and with that, it also becomes, I mean, this is really cool. It's the first U.S. spacecraft to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, yes, it is the first U.S. spacecraft to do one, which is very good.
Off the top of my head, I know Progress has been the one that has almost always done it. Has any other ever done it? I don't think so. Right?
Okay. To be fair, it is the only current U.S. vehicle to do it. The shuttle did it.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
And I'm going to throw this out there because maybe there are some that are asking this themselves. Why doesn't the space station have its own engines to do its orbit boosts?
It does actually. We just don't really use them anymore.
Right. They're weaker than the engines on the docking vehicles. They're more akin to RCS thrusters. So it just makes more sense from an operational standpoint to use the actual engines that are on Progress or Cygnus.
But the Zvezda service module, which is the aft module of the Russian segment that the Progresses and Soyuzes can dock to on the aft segment of the station, has thrusters to do it, and was actually used within the last year to do one of the emergency like dodge maneuvers away from debris. So they are still used, but Thomas is correct. When possible, they use the Progress over the Zvezda engines.
Cool. This one here from Tiguan saying, is the Cygnus spacecraft the only big dump truck for the ISS currently? I'm not sure that dump truck is the term that NASA would use.
Nor Northrop Grumman.
Yeah. What are we referring to here?
Yes, so Cygnus cannot survive atmospheric reentry. However, it has a gigantic cargo volume inside of it. So the specifics for this particular mission, Cygnus is bringing up 3,729 kilograms or around 8,200 pounds of cargo elements and supplies for the station. And it will return, and the crew will then repack almost that same exact amount back into the vehicle for trash disposal at the end of the mission. So in that regard, it is a huge dump truck for the ISS. And yes, in that regard, it's the biggest. Yes.
And they've used it.
Although I really wouldn't call it that, but I understand what you're asking. Yes.
And they've used it for other purposes too. They've actually performed science on their way towards their deorbit, right?
Yes, they have actually purposefully ignited fires safely inside of Cygnus to study fire suppression and new materials to help mitigate the spread of fire should it break out in spacecraft. So Cygnus is a very good test bed for experiments on the International Space Station. And while it has not actually been used in this regard yet, there is the capability, should NASA ever want it, that you could launch a Cygnus, have it go up and deliver its cargo. The crew could put science experiments inside of it, detach it, let it free fly for a few days or weeks with those science experiments, and then come back to the station and take them all out if it needed to leave. Other Cygnuses have also included science racks so that for the 3 months that Cygnus is there, it can start to double as an additional scientific module for the ISS. So Cygnus is a very, very multi-use and multi-capable vehicle, even though it is disposable at the end of its flight.
All right, we're getting within 4 minutes. Let's try to squeeze in a couple more questions. Nero asking, they just set up a resupply mission to the ISS. Why send another one in less than a week?
Yes. Well, that is because the space station is a very busy vehicle. On average, about 3 Cygnus vehicles go a year, about 3 to 4 Progresses, and about 3 to 4. Depending on the year, cargo dragons will go to the ISS. So there is a routine and rapid cadence to this. because of the science experiments that we are trying to get up there and constantly cycling those science experiments up and down and replenishing the crew and food supplies. And Thomas, I've been talking a while, so the next question is yours if the wind is not bad.
Okay, sure.
Uh,
You're doing a great job answering, so no problems here.
here's a bit of a softball as we're approaching liftoff from Randall saying, "How do they know when the water tower is full?"
Oh man.
Alright guys, I'm back for the launch of Cygnus NG-17 to the ISS. We're at the T-minus 3-minute mark before the launch. So let me explain some stuff about this launch. This is the first launch where the orbital base will be reboosted into space via the Cygnus. Will be absolutely amazing, something that the ATP resupply vehicle used to do back in the early 2010s. So if you know what the ATP resupply vehicle looks like, I'll show you Wikipedia here, what it looks like. ATV. So this is what the ATV looked like. I gotta find it. The automated transfer vehicle, that's it. So this is what the ATV vehicles look like. It launched the mighty Ariane 5 rocket from the Guyana Space Center in French Guiana, portion of South America, that is built by France. It was absolutely an amazing spacecraft, but now the back of it, if you recognize that, that now was part of the European Service Module, which is part of the Cygnus spacecraft. As you can see, that is taken from that, which is pretty neat. So it last launched in 2014. It's been 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21. It's been about 8 years since the last ATV launch. So recipes, automated transfer vehicle. You were a good rocket. You were a good spacecraft that launched the mightiest rocket of them all. I'm glad we had you on board now, Basic, for a little while. I'm glad Russia allowed you to talk to their defensive module. I'm glad you did, and I'm glad you got to do it. So anyways, back to Cygnus. So on the Wikipedia page, if we go to Cygnus 17, you can see now that it is supposed to be used the cyber defected orbital delivery. Think it's expected before the program's first operation reboosts the ISS. Basically, orbit needs to be changed for time to actually falls back in Earth's atmosphere. So basically, ISS is continuously falling down to Earth. So if it doesn't do that, if it doesn't get the reboost, then it will fall down to Earth and all the humans will be killed. That's what I think this is going to do. Reboost the station so that it doesn't fall and crash to Earth and kill Mark Vanderheim, Pyotr Dubrov, and Tuskaparov, and the Crew Dragon, Crew 3 astronauts that are currently on board, space, including the 600 human in space, Matthias Maurer, which is crazy. So, yeah. So, we're at the T-minus 3-minute mark. Let's listen into mission control. Let's listen to NASASpaceflight to hear what's going on. We're back to the T-minus 1-minute mark for the launch of the Antares rocket. 230+ rocket carrying the extended Cygnus spacecraft for the 17th Cygnus launch. 230 validation for the Commercial Resupply Service Program. This is the first Cygnus launch to do it for a live stream. So big congratulations to NASA for that spaceflight, the NASA YouTube channel for collaborating for that spaceflight launched their video before letting me watch their video as well. So huge congrats to them. Huge honor, huge thank you to them for letting me do their content. So let's do it. Go Cygnus, go NASA, go NASA spaceflight, go NG-17, go Cygnus NG-17, go out to Piers Sellers. Let's light this can.
I don't think they do the same thing that they
Does it
do
not
at
do that
KC.
here?
I don't think I've never seen it do it. At 39A, we actually see the water tower overflow, and it's like, well, the water tower's full.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that happen here. I guess keep an eye out. If someone sees that happen, let me know. I don't remember it happening last time I was here, but that would be cool.
Yeah. This one's kind of neat. Coming from Wesley Hale saying, we machine a lot of parts for Northrop Grumman at my work here in Utah, but we rarely know what the parts are for. What are the chances I've made parts for this rocket or launch mount?
Not impossible, but Northrop Grumman makes a lot of things. And if you're making things that you're not allowed to know what they're for, they're probably not for civilian spaceflight.
True.
I mean, they could be, but it's not necessarily likely.
I will pivot to this. The way it could be true is there's a lot of commonality between the Northrop Grumman
That's
vehicles.
true.
So
Just
that
because
might
they're
be
made
where
for
the
other
odds
things,
are in
they
your
might also
favor.
be used. Yeah, I got you. That's a good point.
All right. We're within 2 minutes. I'm going to hit a couple super chats real quick. Camper News Network, $28 saying, let's hope we can light this candle for my birthday. Thank you very much for that support.
Woohoo.
Hamster.
And also, happy birthday to my bud, Camper News Network. If you're watching this stream, congratulations on a good birthday. Hope you had a good birthday, my bud. And hopefully the launch goes good. Hopefully the launch goes good for my live stream here on YouTube. So congratulations for you casting your first Cygnus launch live, for me casting my first Cygnus launch, for me casting this Cygnus launch for you guys, for recapping it for you guys live. So let's light this candle, baby. Go Cygnus, go NASA, go and Terry's. Let's light this candle and go Northrop Grumman.
Space. I'm out here. It's really cold. Thank you, Hamster Space Nerd.
And confirm.
Remy Turk saying, what are those 4 flagpoles? I think we mentioned that. Frank Brandt saying, thank you, NSF. Thank you very much for that support. Let's see. Within a minute and a half, I say...
Yeah, the huge congratulations to NASASpaceflight for letting us do their content. If you don't know who NSF are, they're the channel who produce really good live streams of NASA spaceflight, of NASA, ESA, whatever you can do. NASA launches into space. So huge congratulations to them for this launch, for getting going to Wallet and doing this launch for us so we can live stream it for you guys. If you haven't checked out my first live stream I had for them, which will be in the description below, you'll see the first launch. It'll be 0006. We had a rocket booster failure. It went to the side and lifted off, but then it deorbited and burned off in Earth's atmosphere, which is sad. It got destroyed, but whatever. It was a good launch anyways. So, yeah.
We kind of chill and wait for liftoff. What do you think?
Indeed. So under a minute and 20 seconds to the launch of the NG-17 mission with the SS Piers Sellers Cygnus craft bound for the International Space Station. And remember, too, if you are so inclined
within 30 seconds.
To help our friends at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, there is a link pinned in chat where you can help them with their causes. And here we go with the final 20 seconds to lift
All right,
off.
team, about 20 seconds to the launch of Cygnus into orbit. Let's light this candle. Go Northrop Grumman, go NASA, go Antares, go Cygnus. Let's light this candle, baby. Team, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. I'm just rewinding it, you guys, just so you get a good 30-second call out.
If you are so
Within
inclined
30 seconds.
to help our friends.
Team, 30 seconds to launch of the SS Piers Sellers Cygnus to the ISS for Wallops Flight Facilities, Mars Pad 0A. Roger.
Causes, and here we go with the final 20 seconds to lift off.
Go, team, 3 seconds. Go out. Go at Terry's. Go Cygnus. Go SS Piers Sellers. Go NASA. Go Mars Pad 0A. Team, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. And ignition and liftoff of the SS Piers Sellers on its way to orbit from Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. We have cleared on the coast of Virginia, and we have cleared the tower. We had a good liftoff here on the SS Piers Sellers, the first Cygnus spacecraft to reboot 0 space station so that the crew 3 astronauts, the Swedish MSIT astronauts, don't get killed on board the mightiest of the mighty station, the International Space Station, the largest corporation in space. 20 years to 20 years to complete. I meant it took over 20 years to complete. L plus 50 seconds into the flight. Stage 1 forward looks good. Everything is nominal. We're standing by for first stage separation and second stage ignition. We'll see side boot, we'll see ferry separation, and then second stage cutoff, and then payload separation, and then that'll be the end of the live stream. That'll mark the end of today's live stream, and that'll mark the end of the first recap launch of my first Cygnus.
Lower atmosphere, and TARS is a very unique rocket in that it does not throttle down for max Q, or the moment of maximum dynamic pressure on the vehicle.
You see a puff of smoke, that means we're going through max Q. There is a matter of pressure. Say about first stage cutoff, do for major cutoff, then stage separation, second stage ignition, Piers ferry separation, second stage cutoff, and then payload separation. That will be coming up in the next few minutes, everybody.
Entry to the southeast out of Wallops. A very quick overview of a part of the flight. The first stage will burn for 3 minutes and 24 seconds. That is a very long burn of the first stage, and will take the vehicle to an altitude of 89.2 kilometers, at which point we should have...
This stage will end this stage will end at T-minus 1 minute from now, so please stay tuned for the first stage cutoff and separation. We should be able to see the animation, the second stage ignition, and then we should be able to see the animation of the second stage This is a live stream from NASA. Got the live coverage. This is the live stream from NASA. Their view of the Wallops flight facilities and Terry's rocket that carries Cygnus NG-17 to the International Space Station for a reboost and for a resupply.
First stage flight for the NG-17 Cygnus cargo mission to the ISS.
Everything looking good on the Cygnus so far. Stand by first stage separation, second stage ignition, first stage cutoff, first stage separation, second stage ignition, ferry separation, and payload separation will be coming up after that. Second stage cutoff and then payload separation will be coming up after the second stage cutoff. A little bit after the cutoff. We won't be able to see the solar rays deploy, sadly, but if you want to see a solar ray deploy, then check out how these solar rays are deployed. I don't know where you can find it out, but please find it on YouTube. There's probably a video out there showing you what it is. We're at the T plus 27-minute mark into this video, and we are at the T plus 37-minute 20 seconds for the T plus 37-minute 20-second mark into this live stream, into our live stream, which is absolutely amazing, everybody.
Sounding rockets and suborbital missions than it is for orbital flights most of the time.
Same, our first stage separation, second stage ignition, ferry separation, second stage cutoff, and then a little bit after that will be payload deploy. Everybody.
CNTAR is really downrange, and
oh man, ads. Alright, everybody, gotta turn off my camera here for a little bit. Be right back. Alright, I'm back, everybody. Sorry about that. I just had to get the ad. So here's the live view of the Cygnus spacecraft on board. There you saw first stage separation. So basic cutoff, first stage separation, second stage ignition. They were standing by for the ferries to separate. The shroud that's covering the Cygnus spacecraft is about to separate here in a little bit from now. We're standing by for that. So this is data coming back from the Cygnus spacecraft, telemetry data that's coming back from the Cygnus spacecraft, because there's no cameras on board the Cygnus, sadly, which means we have to just deal with this data live content here. So stay by for the payload ferries to separate, everybody. Stay by for that call out. Payload ferry separation confirmed. Roger, we have payload ferry separation, everybody. Second stage, payload ferry separation, second stage confirmed.
Should have happened by now. And what's going on
Second
in
stage
that
ignition.
guidance lock, which, yep, and there we have it, the ignition of that engine. You can see the pitch program there. What that is doing is the second
This will
stage
burn
of flight
for a
computer
few
has
more minutes, and
calculated,
then they'll get the
this
Cygnus
is how
into
much propellant
orbit. The
I
final
have in me.
stage of the mighty
I have
Northrop
to burn
Interplanetary
all of that
rocket,
propellant
a
'cause I'm
two-stage
solid
rocket that
rocket
sends
state.
Cygnus to the
I have to
ISS.
shut down when I reach parameters. So it has calculated the path to get it to.
So what I'll do is, guys, I'll mute my mic. I'll be back at the T-minus 1 minute mark before payload until before it gets the cutoff. And then I'll be back before, and then I'll be back before payload deploys. So you get to see that amazing deployment. I'll be here. Stay tuned. I'll be right over on the bed, just so you guys know. We'll see you guys in a bit.
Orbit. That's not necessarily the most efficient, but will help scrub out additional energy that would either make your orbit too high or off course. So this is a very, very, very intricate process that the flight computers are using to basically fly in a purposefully inefficient trajectory based on the energy that is in the stage and how long you have to burn and what your payload mass is. So when you saw the vehicle pitch like that very quickly at engine ignition, or motor ignition, more like it, that's what it was doing. That's what it was compensating for, was where was I left off and where do I need to be and what's the inefficient trajectory to get me there because I'm a solid rocket vehicle.
And that's one of my favorite rocket science things out there, is just how all of that math gets done to use every bit of that propellant and still get exactly where you need to go. It's super cool.
Really is. It
Yeah,
really is.
impressive. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say I've done something similar in Kerbal, but not on purpose.
I have yet to recreate that successfully in Kerbal. Not that I haven't tried.
Yeah.
Now, things to pay attention to on the screen, you see our apogee and our perigee limits. So we are targeting 172 kilometers by 317 kilometers. That's the ideal target. If, as has happened in the past, sometimes that upper stage and the guidance system can get it so accurate that you can actually get a better injection performance out of the vehicle. So we will see what those numbers end up being here. But on the last mission, the second stage actually overperformed and actually left Cygnus with a lot more propellant than it needed to get to the ISS. So very accurate insertion on the last one too.
Wow.
I'll also just point out that the crystal clear skies here made for a beautiful launch viewing experience, and I hope everyone in the Mid-Atlantic region was able to catch a glimpse of that as well, because boy, did that look and sound good.
And it was a great track too, Thomas. Oh, there we go.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And there we go. So the target was 172 by 317, and we're at 181 by 313 and climbing. So that is a very accurate insertion from the second stage. So standing by for payload separation, which in this case is Cygnus separation.
And that begins a journey Cygnus.
All right, guys, I'm back. We're staying by repeat this separation, everybody. A T plus. We're T plus 17 minutes to the story mission flying Cygnus on board the Terry rocket. Look at it go.
See the stage sort of reorienting now.
Staying by repeat this separation, everybody.
Deeply diving there.
We're staying by. We saw an amazing thing get this cut off. So we had an amazing liftoff of 157 Mars Pad 08, an excellent stage 1 cutoff, an amazing max Q, amazing stage 1 separation, amazing payload ferry separation, and amazing separation on board the second ferry of the ferries on board the second stage, and with amazing second ignition, and now we just saw an amazing second cutoff. And we're about to see hopefully an amazing Cygnus separation here in a little bit from now. So stay tuned to this live stream so you can get the live coverage of the separation of the Pink Cygnus spacecraft that launched from Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. We know what those are. Those are the RCS rocket booters on board the RCS reaction control system that was first used on board the command modules on the Apollo days for the Apollo days to boost the Cygnus command module up to help it keep it oriented in space.
9 kilograms of science experiments, food, cargo.
So over 1,000 tons of cargo, snacks, and It applies
as well
on the
as
on board the Cygnus
intergalactic
NG-17
commerce.
spacecraft on its way to
And
the
that's
International
somewhere
Space
around the
Station.
8,000
So
kilometer
we're
mark
standing by for
when
that
the mass of
separation,
Cygnus
and
itself.
that will mark the end of today's live stream.
Oh yes, very.
That will mark the
yes,
end
yes,
of the
very
live
much
stream.
so,
Then we'll do
very
another
much so.
stream Q&A to mark the end of this historic
a
live
lot of times
stream.
people ask, why there's no like live camera view from the second stage on some.
That's no
rockets, but
question.
I
Why is there no
kinda
camera
like
view on the
this
Cygnus?
view, this
That would be a
simulated
cool
view.
thing
It
to
shows
see.
you like the little puffs of the RCS system and exactly what direction it's pointing and stuff. I think there is a benefit to having it like this.
And
The live telemetry is cool.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what I was going to point out is that it is based on the live telemetry that they're getting from the vehicle. Yeah.
Right. This isn't just like a pre-recorded video that they're showing
And
us.
there
This
we
is
go. We have
actual,
Cygnus separation,
real life.
co-separation.
Oh,
The
there you go.
Cygnus
Which is
NG.
why actually
We have to break.
Showing us. This is
Exactly, and that's what I was going to point out is that
All
it is
right.
based on the
Stand by
live
for the quick wire
telemetry that they're
separation.
getting from the vehicle. Yeah.
right. This isn't just like a pre-recorded video.
And we have to
that
break
they're
wire
showing us.
separation.
This is
Six-
actual
Right.
real life. Oh, and there you go.
Which is why
Video.
Getting from the vehicle. Yeah.
Right. This isn't just like a pre-recorded
We
video.
have to break
that
wire
they're showing
separation.
us. This
Successful
is
separation.
actual,
The Cygnus NG-17, the SS Piers
there
Solar
you go.
separated from the second stage and is now flying on its own. Congratulations to the team, Dr. Crumman, and the systems. You astronaut being straight to NASA. It's a NASASpaceflight for broadcasting again. Thank you so much to you guys for watching. I'm Willie Davis. This has been the live broadcast of the Northrop Grumman and Terry Rocky carrying Cygnus NG-17 to the ISS. And thank you all for watching today's live stream. That has been a great one in the books, everybody. Congratulations to both the teams at NASA, Northrop Grumman and Vita Systems, and the NASASpaceflight team for allowing me to broadcast their launch. Congratulations to both of those people, and we'll see you all next time for a Jughead launch tomorrow morning at 7:50, and a little bit after 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye-bye, everybody.